I'm going to hit record and ask Ms. Breland if you would be willing to share a few words with us. I put the agenda in the chat. We're scheduled to do after introductions, to do our PTO Treasurer Report, and then ask Ms. Breland to share some information with us, and then we'll have a Q&A with Ms. Breland, and then there'll be a few announcements. So Ms. Breland, actually, if you wouldn't mind giving your report first, I need to pull up the Treasurer's Report.
Hi, again, I'm Sabrina Breland. I'm the principal of East Rock. The new opening, because I'll call it a new opening because it's not like any opening that we've ever had before, went pretty smoothly. The first day we had about 80 or so kids. Today we had about 106 doing in-person learning. We're using QR codes for dismissal. We're working out the kinks with that. It seems to be working pretty well. People with older Androids, unfortunately, are not able to access the QR code like we had planned, so we have to work around that. We have a staff member managing each grade. I'm working with second grade pickups. Mr. Priest works with fourth grade. I think Trisha worked with first grade, and Tammy has fourth, and Miss DePriest has third. So we are the contact people in charge of dismissal, and that's been working pretty well. So what we do is we have on our phones and on our computers spreadsheets. So when parents use the QR code, it comes up on our spreadsheet in addition to coming up to the teacher's spreadsheet. And we retrieve the student and bring the student out to their adult. We also have another system that we're using with students in grades 2 through 5. We have a sheet that they can designate their child as a walker. So students are able to be dismissed at certain times, at staggered times that start at 1:50 and ending at 2:10. And we also have an option where parents can use the QR code, let us know that they're waiting in their car, and students are allowed to leave at certain times or waiting in front. And then we always have adults. So students are never really actually leaving the building on their own. We have a minimum of 6 adults in the front at one time, making sure students either make it to their adult that's waiting outside or make it to their adult that's waiting in the car. So that with dismissal seems to be going well. We also have an arrival plan where students in grades 4 and 5 enter through the playground area to alleviate some of the congestion. And we have students in grades 1 through 3 entering through the regular doors, which are the doors adjacent to the music rooms, and students in kindergarten entering through the back kindergarten door. So we tried to have students coming in several different entrances so we don't have a lot of congestion. Students are also using the gymnasium for gym, which is a plus, and the gym teachers were really excited about that. Miss Glickman actually broke the gym up into several squares. So when students come in, they have a designated square that they go to, and the squares are 7 by 7. So students have plenty of room, and obviously she staggered them so no student is next to each other. Right now, we haven't required an overflow space. Our overflow spaces right now are going to be 2 rooms, a music room, which our music teacher for the K3 students, she's actually still teaching remotely. So we'll use that room as an overflow room. And we also have the Spanish room up on the 2nd floor that we'll use for an overflow room, but currently we haven't needed to use that. Our self-contained classes, we do have students in all of those at this time, and they enter through the double doors to the left of the main foyer. It was a little tricky for some teachers, and I know we have Miss Maria on the line, and we also have Miss Koch. Both teach students who are in front of them and teach students who are remote. And so they can probably talk a little bit about how that transition has been for them. Some teachers that I questioned said it went a lot smoother than they had anticipated. We did get web cameras for each teacher. Unfortunately, some of the computers were upgraded and the new software needs to be downloaded so teachers can access their boards. So students who are in the class can see what the teacher is seeing, which helps a lot. Um, we did have some issues with students' computers echoing because everyone's in the same place right now trying to hear. And the way we mitigated the damages there, we had everybody turn off their volume plus mute, and we're using one camera to actually pick up the audio. Other than that, I think things have been going well. We've had a few more parents calling saying they really are interested in moving their students back in. What we've asked for a 2-week incubation period where when parents want to make a switch. So at this time, we are still letting people in because it still seems like the beginning, but after next week, we'll try to make sure each parent gives us at least 2 weeks so we can prepare, because some of it will students coming in will have us being in a situation where there's an overflow. So we do have a lot of students in grades 4 and kindergarten coming into the building right now. So those classes and third grade. First grade is manageable right now. Fifth grade is manageable, but the other grades are high with in-person learning. But if Ms. Koch, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you want to speak a little bit about how it's working teaching students in front of you and remotely? You don't have to.
No, I will. Thank
Okay.
you. Sure. I honestly think it went smoother than I expected. I was very nervous, and trying to wrap my head around how it was going to work, but it actually just worked out very well. Um, the students that were in person, they had their Chromebooks or their laptops in front of them, and I'm able to project the whole meeting on my whiteboard, board, so the kids can see. And every time when I and then I'm on my computer talking to the kids that are remote, but then the kids can see me. I don't know. Does this make sense? So and I think it just worked out really well. And I think because I'm able to project things up for the kids that are in person, and then I don't know, I'm just happy that some kids are back and that we're getting closer back to normal.
Right. And so I think thank you so much, Ms. Koch. And a lot of teachers were very excited about having students back so they can get to know them. We do have a number of new students in our building as well that teachers have never seen before, and students have never tried to navigate the building. The building is different. We have arrows laid out for students so they know where to go. We also have a situation for our gang bathrooms. When students our capacity right now for each of our gang bathrooms are 2 students. That's the capacity is 2, I'm sorry. And what we have are little hooks on the outside of the door, and Tricia Simon, our magnet resource person, she actually, every student who said they were coming back in person, she color coded name tags. So students know when they go to the bathroom, if the hook is empty, they can put their card on the door, and that would indicate to any other student how many people are actually in the bathroom. If there's more than 2 people, they know to wait out. If there's more than 2 people waiting, they know to go back to their classroom. So we have set up a lot of situations so students are not congregating together. We also have a policy when students leave the room and enter the room, they need to make sure they wash their hands. So we're doing a lot of hand washing. Some people have asked if they can bring in their own hand washings stuff and other things of that nature, like wipes. Unfortunately, the district advises us that we can only use approved district supplies. Our last thing I think I want to talk about is recess. So recess, we had the vertical teams get together, like the 4th and 5th grade teacher got together. They made sure now, so we have the backfield, not where the dogs are most of the time, because it's not the dog park, but the field behind the dog park that people use as the extended dog park. So we're not using that area, but if you're facing outside, is on the left-hand side, and you have two softball field, well, one softball field and one that used to be a little league field. The 4th and the 5th grade teams got together and scheduled recess, and they also scheduled mask breaks, and they use those fields. We have the other classes working with the playground, the playscape, and the upper playground. Now, they're not using any of the playscapes, but what they are doing is using that area for mask breaks, and they're using the big fields for recess. So they got together and they made recess break, schedules as well. The only problem that we ran into there was it was not much for the students to do because they're not supposed to congregate. So what we decided to do in some classes is have every student bring a ball in. Some other students started bringing other toys in. I know we used to frown upon that before, but this is something that we're definitely encouraging. So during recess, students have something to do and play with outside. So students are encouraged to bring playground equipment in that will be tagged with their name, and we'll be encouraging them not to share, just to use it all. Although I've driven by a few other schools, and I do see people using the same ball, kicking it around and having fun with it. And some students using noodles to play tag from area schools, not part of New Haven Public, but we haven't received any guidance from the CDC on that or our New Haven Health Department, but I will be seeking that information so we can make informed decisions. And that's all I have at this time. Anna, so I think you can do your report now.
Yeah, before we break into Q&A, I'm going to share the treasurer's report with you all.
Sorry, I have a quick question for Ms. Breland. As far as the kids that is still currently virtual, and I know you were saying about an overflow. So if I do decide to send my child back to in-person with the 2 weeks, of course, and the classroom is full, so does he go in a separate classroom and he see the teacher like virtual? How does that work?
So what would happen, they would be, it would sort of be like their home, because they will be accessing the student, the teacher virtually, but they also will be in front of the teacher for a period of the day. Any student that's in the building will actually have in front of the teacher time. And so they would leave their overflow space and transition in with the teacher. But anybody who has questions, soon as Anna finishes her report, we're gonna have a Q&A and you can ask anything that you need to ask.
Can I just add something really quickly, Ms. Breland, that I just remember you're saying, or maybe it was one of my kids' teachers said at their orientation that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if a child is in, it's not like the same kids will be in the overflow room all the time, is what they told us. Like it would.
Right. They would rotate in front. So, and then the time in which they're in front of the teacher would rotate as well. So if your son was in front of the teacher at the beginning during reading today, and then the math, he went into the overflow room. The next day he would be in front of the teacher during math, and then overflow room during reading. But right now we haven't had to use the overflow room, which works out great for everybody.
Okay, I'm sorry, another quick question. So they're in kindergarten and they're in the overflow room. Because they're in kindergarten, like my child's in kindergarten, will a teacher be present with them in the overflow room?
So right now, we're not, well, one kindergarten room is almost at capacity, the other one is not. So we haven't had an overflow room, but the para in the room, if they would need to, would actually be in that other room with them. And not all grade levels have paraprofessionals. We have grades K and 1, pre-K through 1 with paraprofessionals. So those paraprofessionals would be with them in the overflow room. But if there was a situation where the students were in a higher grade, we have someone managing those rooms. So it wouldn't necessarily be their regular, one of their classroom teachers.
Let's just continue with the Q&A and I'll share my report at the end, if that's okay. I don't want to interrupt the flow too much. And if anybody needs, we've been keeping our interpreters here for a half an hour and they haven't been needed. So if anybody, would you raise your hand or speak now if you want me to keep them, or I will release them if no one needs Cameron or GA, who I thank very much for being here.
Me too. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that we have this opportunity. Hopefully you guys will be able to do it again and be utilized.
Yeah, we've got some practice now, and now we know how it works.
Correct. And thank you, Anna, for doing this. We appreciate it.
All right, does anybody have any more questions?
Hi, I have a question. This is for kindergarten. It's in regard to Wednesday. Oh, I guess maybe it's the first week. We don't know yet. So how is it going to work for Wednesday? So yesterday, was yesterday? Yes, yesterday was Wednesday. So we got a sheet with things to do. But what I didn't realize is that they have a special on Wednesday. And the special teacher also sent something. I just saw it today. I was like, oh, okay, what is this?
What we are actually doing is students in grades K through 5 will have SEL in the morning, which is social and emotional learning time in the mornings, and then they'll have asynchronous activities. But we have a few teachers who still wanted to teach synchronous lessons. So they still wanted to be live with the students. And so they're checking with families to see if it's okay. If not, so let's say you had art on Wednesday, and instead of your student actually sitting in front of her teacher, they put asynchronous activities on the Google Classroom, or they put a recording. So they either have asynchronous activities or they have activities for your child to complete. So now the students, I know the EL teacher, she wants to still do in-person stuff. And I did have one Spanish teacher who actually wants to do in-person stuff. So Ms. Rosario, did you decide to do some in-person stuff on Wednesday as well?
Yes, I am, but I only giving class to only 2 groups and the Spanish club with the 5th graders, and they are easy to come because it's in the lunchtime. But in the morning, I only see 1 4th grade, Miss Mayoko and Mrs. Sorshan, and they coordinate to see the student more earlier. It's only 2 groups.
So I guess the short answer is, Mom, that if there's a special teacher, they've made decisions with the teacher and with the students whether or not they're going to actually have a live lesson with their students. But you probably found stuff on Google Classroom that you weren't expecting because some people, it was originally the idea of the district to have asynchronous instruction for those grades on Wednesdays during the deep cleanings. So teachers can actually prepare for that in-person and remote students teaching at more, they needed to give teacher more teaching time and more planning time.
Okay.
I just wanted to say I'm in the same boat as you. Same exact thing happened to me yesterday. We're not used to having gym on Wednesdays because it happened after 12:30, and all of a sudden we saw the little note there and said, oh my goodness, we missed our first Wednesday gym. So I think the special area teachers might have expected a lot of people who may have had a special after 12:30 on Wednesday to do something along those lines. So we'll aim for next week.
Oh, that means we missed gym yesterday, Trish, and I didn't even know about it.
She
That
put
is a good.
she put an asynchronous thing and it was right on time and all that jazz, but it was, I think, what I hear Rosalie saying, like, oh, I was not expecting something to be up there from that. So
It
I
would be
think
nice
a
to
lot of us
gain.
are in that boat.
It would be nice for them to gain back a day of PE though. Like the first graders only have one day of gym now because it was, I think, supposed to be Monday and Wednesday. Now they only have it Monday all along this year because Wednesdays was the half day. But I don't know. I don't know what Miss Glickman's schedule is, but she wants to do like a 9 a.m. PE class. That might work out.
Well,
She also does really super good vlogs and everything as well. So she has a super, I don't know if you've gone into her little Bitmoji classroom, but even on days that maybe have been regular days that we've missed, we've had to go back to it. So she always usually has a pretty good one up there. So I'm excited to see what her asynchronous world.
Definitely her asynchronous world is top notch, I must say. She does a good job with that.
she's very dedicated. But the fourth grade loses their second gym as well. So, but she did post in yesterday's class, or yesterday's, she posted to the kids something, her virtual classroom for fourth grade as well. So,
And not to harp on the Wednesday thing, and I know we're all just getting used to this, but it is like both my kids happen to have sort of different expectations for Wednesdays, so I can manage that perfectly fine with them at home. But it is hard when one's kind of like, all right, just getting on for a little while, and then don't worry kind of about the rest of the day when the other one is supposed to like do some work. So it's not that big of a deal, but it does feel a little bit inconsistent. And I just was chalking that up to us kind of just starting this and figuring it out.
we're definitely.
Is there a cutoff?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Is there a cutoff date for the to rejoin in person, or is just until it's just open to when you feel like you want to send your child back to school?
I missed that. There was a little feedback. Can you say that again, please?
Ms. Breland, I think she was asking if there's a cutoff date for when you can come, when the last time that you can request to come back.
We really want them to switch at marking periods, but if it becomes a hardship and they need to have the student come back to school, then we ask for 2 weeks so we can plan for that transition. But obviously, if a parent is in the school in person and no longer feel comfortable, they can pull them out at any time.
So when is the marking period?
Well, the third marking period is just beginning.
Already. Wow.
Yeah, and then if you go on the district's website, it actually has the beginning and the end of each marking period based on a student's grade. So they have the K-8 marking periods and the high school marking periods.
Trish, you're our calendar keeper. Do you know that date?
Of course, Trisha does. You just gotta give her 1 second.
I'm darkly looking through it. I can't find it. I knew I had it written somewhere. The 22nd.
Tomorrow's the last day of the second marking period. So grades are due tomorrow.
So,
yeah. So the third marking period starts Monday.
No, but when does the fourth marking period start? Because that would be the marking period.
Fourth one. Probably April.
Probably.
A third marking period ends April 1st. So that means that the next one with the fourth starts on Monday, April 5th.
Thank you.
I'm always so uncomfortable with these pregnant pauses, but I want to give people a chance to think and ask a question when they're ready. If you also don't feel comfortable unmuting, you can also put it in the chat. I'm monitoring that if you have any questions you want to type in. Does anybody want to see the treasurer's report? Can you see this?
And I know you mentioned that you didn't have the forms. Maybe when you stop by tomorrow, if I see you, I can give you the statements, because they're like piled this high in my office.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to ask you that. That'd
Yeah,
be
no
great.
problem.
So this is a treasurer's report that is not reconciled with our bank statements, unfortunately. So normally we're out of the school and I just pick them up from the school, and I haven't stepped in, so I haven't gotten them. But this is what I anticipate. I'm hoping that we haven't had a ton of transactions this year, obviously. We did have a fundraiser with the Elm City Market in, I guess that was in November, and we raised $270 by just having families shop and getting there are 3 different schools that shared 3% of the profits that day. And we had a donation of $1,000 that was earmarked for getting books for the kids that we passed out at Halloween. And there are still actually more books for us to distribute because we got so many and we didn't have as many people show up at the Halloween event as we had hoped. But we did pass out 90 some books, I think 98 books, 92 books on over the 2 days that we did the Halloween trick-or-treating or ABC Halloween event at the school. And we spent about $1,750 on those books. And we had a bunch of candy donated and apples donated, and that we passed out in addition to the books. So, and then the PTO voted to welcome the teachers back to school on Tuesday with some chocolates. So that was the other expense that we've had this year. So our beginning balance was $8,522, and our anticipated balance is $7,969. Does anybody have any questions?
But I would like to say thank you for the chocolates, because they definitely were came in very handy the past couple days for a little pick me up. So I appreciate it. So thank you. And I know other teachers appreciated it too. So it was sweet.
Well, we appreciate you, Ms. Koch, and all the teachers who are showing up for our kids every day and are working so hard. I am so impressed with all that you are able to accomplish and maintain your cool in some difficult times. There are a couple of announcements that I wanted to share with y'all. If they're in the agenda. One is that we're going to host some Valentine's Day events, also virtually, on the 18th of February. From 6 to 7, we'll have a dance party for grades K through 4. And then from 7 to 8 that night, we'll have another dance party for grades 5 through 8. And also a competition we're calling East Rock TikTok. And we're asking the kids to create TikTok-like videos. They can use Flipgrid or whatever they want. They don't have to use TikTok, but to create a video showing their creativity. And we'll have prizes for different categories of film or of videos that they do. And that's all going to be on the 18th, but we'll have the videos a deadline for the videos a little bit before that so that we can put them together and share them right before the dance party at 7 on the 18th for the older kids. And then the East Rock Record is our new school newspaper, and they are looking for new reporters. And they also are hosting a, they're calling it boot camp for photojournalism over 2 days. I think it's January 28th and February 5th. I'll share the link in the chat for that. So if your kid is interested in that, they can sign up before the 25th, I think is the deadline. But that's the sign up link for the East Rock Record. And then this Saturday, I'm hosting a vine removal community service day just next to the school in Blake Field. There's a park that some of the classes are having recess over in this park in Blake Field. On the other side of Mechanic Street, in the back side of the school is Mechanic Street. And so the area right between the parking lot and Blake Field has a bunch of trees that are being strangled by vines that are invasive. So we're going to be clipping those vines and saving those trees from death. So that'll be Saturday morning from 10 to noon. And I'm going to put a link to sign up for that too. And that's the same link. It doesn't look right. Yeah, forms, sorry. You see the Google Forms link, that's for this Saturday. And because of COVID, I don't want to have any more than 10 people there. And so if you can sign up in advance to let me know. If you don't sign up in advance and you show up and there are more than 10 people, then I might ask you to go home. I might ask you to just spread out even further. Then, but it's helpful to know numbers so that I can bring the right number of tools. But so if you bring your own gloves and a mask, I will provide you with clippers and all the tools you might need for helping out. Is anybody interested in coming on Saturday? Just curious. Yeah. And it is a kid-friendly event. If you, there'll be things for them to do if you want to bring them.
I'm gonna try to come. I'll be with my niece and nephew, so I have to see. So they're 4 and 5. So I don't
Not that.
know if I don't know if they're too little, but.
Thank you.
Does
anybody
check
have-
on it? Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it. I'll check on it and let you know. So.
My coworker has made a goal for 2021 to clip vines off of trees every day, 365 days of clipping vines off trees to save them from death. So he asked me if I'd be willing to. He's noticed that these trees are getting attacked, and asked me if we'd be willing to do this. So he'll be leading the training and all the efforts, but I'm going to be there too.
So I know like towards the back playground area, there were I think it was Virginia creeper was there, and that's very invasive, right? I believe. But I don't know
if it's causing much damage, if it's worth removing them. And we can ask Chris on Saturday, because I thought it was an invasive, and I think it's actually not a problem.
Right.
But I
thought Susanna maybe.
Yeah, maybe she would know better. I'm learning still. Are there any other announcements that people would like to share? Rosalie, is that a hand up or? No. Well, thank you all for coming. We are way on time, getting done 12 minutes early.
I just wanted to let you know that I did let in someone
Oh,
that might want to introduce themselves.
to Familia Tumba. Would you like to introduce yourself, and do you have any questions for Ms. Breland?
Yes, I'm Kevlin Mother. I just have a concern about the way the kids, they are learning on the remotes. So it looked like they are missing too many work. So I don't know how they can catch up with that one, because sometimes they have in another class and this side the class continue, and when they come, it's like they lost a little bit, they have too much work to do. So we don't know how they can catch up with those missing work.
So students aren't supposed to be excluded. Do you think you're being excluded when the students are in person and you're not able to log on?
She didn't start yet in person. She's still in remote.
Right. So students who are remote are still able to log on with the teacher. So we're not excluding anyone. So students on the first day, which was on Tuesday, the 19th, we just rolled back the time in which students who were remote would actually log on, because they were going over all the new rules that are in place. But otherwise, you still should be able to log on just like you were doing earlier with your teacher. So you shouldn't be kept offline.
Okay.
So like, like tomorrow morning, you should log in like you normally do. So even though the teacher's in front of the other student, she's still teaching the students remotely as well.
Okay. Thank you so much for the answer.
No problem.
I just want to interject. It is like with the kindergarten class, it is times where the kids that's virtual is kind of excluded because the mask breaks and the time outside. So I don't know if she's referring to it some point in the day. The kids that's learning online is not included with the other kids.
Right, but they're not missing instruction, so they're going outside. They are missing that socialization that they probably would experience if they were there, but they're not missing instruction. Anytime they're doing instruction and large group, which is tier 1 instruction, everybody that's available to everyone. But I understand what you're saying about the mask breaks and about lunch and about recess and walking to the gym. They're not online at that point, but I know Ms. Glickman has set up a screen in the gymnasium that she's projecting on the walls so they can still participate virtually. And our music teacher is still virtual and for kindergarten age students. So maybe she probably just thought, Mom, that she couldn't log on because she wasn't in person, perhaps.
Sorry, I thought what she was saying is that she's still in another class while the other class has started. I think that's what I understood. She said by the time she logs in, the class has already started, but the other one wasn't done. I don't know, maybe she should clarify.
It sounds like she was missing, she felt like her student was behind and missing something. And
right, and so
wonder
then
if that's
once she logged back on, the work was piling up because she missed that lesson. And so now she was having to do work that she missed during the time when she was off.
And I think that I've had that problem too with my kids getting behind, and I have a hard time kind of following what their assignments are and how to help them get back on track. And so I spoke with my second grader's teacher in December, and she really helped me. She kind of walked me through how she was presenting the work and what I should worry about and what I shouldn't worry about. And I think if you reached out to the teacher, she might or he might be really helpful in helping you because each teacher does it a little bit differently. So if I were to explain it to you, it would probably be different for they use classroom a little bit differently. So I think you should feel comfortable reaching out to the teacher and asking that question of the teacher directly.
Actually, I have one question about the work. Now that students are, I mean, the ones that are in person, do they still have homework?
I think so.
Like,
I
I'm
think it
trying
also
to
depends on the teacher.
understand,
I think it depends on the teacher. So,
because like I said, they used to have the writing and the thing. So that is happening in class, right?
I think like Ms. Cox said, I think it depends on the teacher, but a lot of teachers are giving students work to do offline to cut down on the screen time. So I think they still have homework.
Okay. Are they on screen in the class?
Sometimes they are on screen because some teachers are still teaching virtually, and then sometimes they want them to be able to interact with the students who are remote.
It's less so in the kindergarten though, right?
Yes, kindergarten, they're only using them for certain things. But like, so when I went in both kindergarten classes, one kindergarten was actually using their devices at that point because they were involved in music. But when I went in the other kindergarten class, they weren't using them at all. They weren't even out. So,
Okay, so when they have music class, they're each using their devices.
correct.
I mean, this is good because my son is not giving me any information. So, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what did you do at school? Nothing. I'm like, no, you did stuff. Like, you're bringing papers home. But I was like, do you use your iPad? He's like, no. I said, well, why did they ask you to bring it? I don't know. Okay.
And then there was a time, yes, on Tuesday when one of the kindergarten classes needed to use theirs because their board was down. And in order to engage everybody, everyone in the room had to get on them. But especially in the K1, and sometimes in the second grade, they're really trying to limit the amount of time that the in-person students are in front of front of their devices. So they're trying to use those, keep that down to a minimum.
Yeah, that would be great because that's what we sent him in. Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And I think because the classes are a lot smaller, you see the interaction between students seem to be a lot stronger. Obviously there's a smaller number of students there, so everybody's getting to know their student's name. Most of them, realized the name when they were on their meets, but now they're seeing them in person, and you can see the energy is different, and they seem like they're a unit. So I think it's a nice place to be right now. We've only been in school for 2 days, but what I've seen those 2 days is encouraging.
Yeah, my son is happy.
Good.
He's very happy. Yeah.
and the students are very, very happy.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my students said yesterday, because I had them writing out, we were doing math and we were doing ordering numbers, and I had the students writing things out, and someone's like, oh, I don't even remember how to write anymore because they're so used to typing. So I said, oh yeah, see? But it was, I don't know, it was just cute.
If I can just hop in. So this is my daughter's first year at the school, and she did leave behind a lot of friends that she's known since pre-K. And when I picked her up on Tuesday, she was beaming. She was so happy, so excited, and it was something that I really miss seeing, especially, we're home all the time. We see a lot of each other. But I was just really happy with how happy she is now and how much more she's looking forward to being in school. She wishes that she could just be there full time, but she understands right now it's only the 2 days. But that's a lot to do with you, Miss Koch. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I have to say, my kids
Thank you,
between
team.
today and on Tuesday, we had great days, and I was very proud of my students that were in person, and how patient my students that were at home, and you know, we just all had great days. So, and you know, it was really great to see Charlotte in person and to meet her in person. And but just how she just quickly just fell right in with everybody in the classroom, and she made some fast friends in person. So it was great. So. And that
I
makes
think
me feel
every-
good that she was happy. So like, yeah, that warmed my heart. So thank you for sharing that.
I think it's a great note to end on. It's almost 9 o'clock, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So thank you all for showing up and for your great questions. And I hope that you'll come back to our PTO events, and especially next month's Valentine's events, and feel free to send any ideas that you have to info@eastrockpto.org. And if you have any questions or ideas, we are actually going to be recruiting new board members in the spring. The elections will be happening in June. So that's my plug. I'm serving my second year as the president, and so this is the end of my term limit. So anybody who is interested in getting involved with the PTO and wants to run for there are 7 parent teacher positions that are there's president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and there are 3 advisory. Actually, this year there are 4 advisory positions because no one wanted to be a secretary. So we have 7 positions that are, all of us have been serving in these positions for 2 years now. And so all of our term limits are up. We're able to run for different positions, like we can switch, but we have to switch. So talk to me or anybody on the board if you're interested, because we would love to welcome new members.
Can I just add on really quickly to that? Because if you're coming from a different school, or if you have a different experience with PTOs, you might have a different sense of what we kind of treat ourselves as basically a social, just basically community building, hosting these community forums, and then, dance parties for kids, and then the occasional bake sale so that we can help pay for field trips and things. So it's a pretty low key commitment. And I, like to think that we're generally pretty low key people. It's not, we're not a group of rabble rousers trying to give the teachers a hard time or give Principal Breland a hard time, like whatever. I know different school PTOs have different cultures, and ours is more like, what can we do to make everyone feel comfortable?
One of support.
Yeah.
We try to support the principals, the teachers, and other families as well.
Yeah, so I really, really welcome, I think we'd all really, really welcome anyone who's interested in. I think many of us also would be happy to move on and make space for other people. We're not wedded to our positions or anything like that. It's really just about the community and helping out the community.
Yeah, and we have the time over the summer to kind of mentor people as they transition into the fall. We used to have elections in September, and this will be the first time we have elections in June. We changed our bylaws because it just didn't make sense for that transition, especially when presidents or anybody on the board their kid was leaving the school and not going to be around in September to like train incoming people. So, well, that's the end of our plug. And I think this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for doing this, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Shout out to the inventors.